to start the Tuesday, October 10th, regular meeting of the Coastside County Water District. If we could have a roll call, please.
Director Coverdell,
Present always.
Vice President Feldman.
Here.
President Reynolds.
Here. All right, and then we'll do a pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Wait a minute.
I know, I was just thinking that same thing, Ken. Yeah. All right. Do we have any public comment? All right. Do any directors have anything they'd like to pull or discuss from the consent calendar?
I'd like to know what the legal representative's specialty is, actually. Oh, that's not on the consent calendar.
Okay. And Ken, you reviewed the claims and
I did.
found everything in order?
I found them very in order.
Okay. All right.
I mean, there were a few things I thought were a little spendy, but
All right.
they were in order.
I would make a motion that we adopt the consent calendar. Do I have a second?
Second.
Would you like to call a roll call?
Sure. Director Coverdell.
Aye.
Vice President Feldman.
Yes.
Director Reynolds.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any directors who attended a meeting or have directors' comments?
Beg your pardon?
Directors' comments or meetings? I'll share one short one with you. I'm on a federal interagency small utilities meeting that meets quarterly. I said that wrong. Organization. And we meet quarterly. And one of the stunning things was a discussion of FEMA's challenges and the challenges to the water industry. It's relevant to us, and we all learned a lot at the meeting, and I was dismayed to find out that the FEMA coordination between water utilities and FEMA is far less orchestrated and far less pre-planned than those of us who've been involved in water emergency response had ever been led to understand. And it turns out that it's 99% on the state and a fraction of 1% on the feds. So with that sober news, I thought that was important for us to know and factor into our emergency preparedness is FEMA's not the go-to group.
That's disappointing.
We had federal representatives there who spent a long time explaining why that is, and trust me, you don't want to hear it all. But I guess it's good to know beforehand. Better to know it ahead of time than to find out afterwards. Let's move on to general business. We have a contract with Balance Hydraulics.
Okay, this should start to look familiar because we do it every year. Right about this time, the water year starts October 1st. We have Balance Hydrologics maintaining and monitoring five gauges on Denniston and I think it's 5 gauges on Denniston and San Vicente. This year's time and materials estimate is about $250 different from last year's. The rates have gone up, but we're eliminating one gauging station on San Vicente Creek for reasons that I won't go into, but you can read them in their proposal. The amount is $89,749 for water year 2018. Yes.
If in fact we ever perfect those water rights and we begin to utilize that source, will we have to continue hiring Balance Hydrological, or will that already be over? Because we're now not trying to prove what's there, but rather we're just utilizing what's there.
I think we should assume that this will be an ongoing obligation. Specifically, we have a couple of mitigation measures that were in the environmental impact report on San Vicente Creek, assuming that we decide to take advantage of San Vicente Creek. And those mitigation measures have now been incorporated into our draft permit, which should issue any month now. And they'll also be in our permanent license once we perfect our rights, and that is that we have to measure the flow at 2 stations on San Vicente Creek downstream of our diversion to make sure there's flow there, and we can't divert unless there's flow at those stations. So that'll be a permanent feature. And then some of the others on the gauges above the diversions are ones we should keep.
The other thing I've learned is that the entity who has the best stream flow data usually wins when discussing it with the State Water Resources Control Board.
Right.
So they are very excited about data, and the entity that has the best data, they're very susceptible to saying, hey, okay, you're right. And we are going to, I think, be vulnerable to attacks on, how much water there is and how much we're using and what's a legitimate flow. And I think that having real data is going to be really important.
We now have, I think we started in 2010, so we now have a pretty good multi-year record.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with that. I think it really is valuable. It's a good investment.
Yeah.
Who owns the metering devices?
We do now.
So can we hire somebody or train somebody? I mean, it's just really a matter of reading the meters, right?
No,
Can we
it's
get a
far
meter reader?
more involved than that. It's
Kathleen's giving me a signal.
it's art.
Kathleen, what do you do after lunch? I mean,
It's art and it's science. There really is a lot that goes into turning. It's easy to gather data on the height of the water at the gauge.
right.
But the art and the science that Balance Hydrologics brings to us and a lot of other folks that hire them is turning those readings into flow, which involves monitoring. It involves monitoring the cross-section of the stream at which they do to create a rating curve that translates those water depths into flow rates. So, no, I wouldn't, in my, what I would say is just because you could buy a scalpel doesn't mean you're a surgeon. I mean, I don't think this is a business for amateurs. I mean, I think that the validity of the data and its defendability rely on Balance's competence and their reputation. And they really are among the few firms that have the recognized expertise in this area.
And in fact, reading this, it's stating that Golden Gate National Recreation is now requiring us to submit monitoring data.
Well, as a condition of their allowing us to have the gauging stations on there.
Oh, I see. Okay, so part of saying, okay, you can have the gauges, but you have to share the data with us.
They're not recommending that we hire only Balanced Hydrological.
But we're also paying a share of costs for the Pillar Cetos gauging station. We share that with SAM, SFPUC, USGS,
RCD.
and RCD right
right.
now. And USGS cost for one gauge at some point was $60,000 a year. So, this is just part of our investment, and it's part of our. We've included it as I think it's part of our CIP. So it's part of the total cost of developing those water rights.
With the historical run of these charges, is about the same as it is each year. I don't remember.
No, it's gone up. We've added, because
Yeah,
we've
what was
added
it last
gauging
year?
stations on, well, as I said, this year's $250 different from last year.
Oh, it did.
This is basically time now, because we own the equipment. It's basically their time to go out there, monitor the equipment, collect the data, observe the streams. So in every big storm, they're out there in the stream looking at the stream bed to make sure that the gauging data they collect will be valid.
Is it possible to, now that we brought this up once again, to at some point get staff to give us the latest and the greatest update on San Vicente et al. And where we are and like that? Seeing as we're investing 90K plus a year on a regular basis, it would be good to know if we have made any incremental progress in any direction on San Vicente or will. So I would ask that perhaps as a future, I guess should be later agenda item, that we have a refresh from you. That would be good.
And that could also be at a committee
Yes.
meeting level as well.
Well, I think the appropriate time to do that in the near future, we hope, will be the issuance of the new permit, which will give us until 2026 to perfect our rights.
Which will be approximately when?
We have given the Division of Water Rights everything. We've commented on their draft order and the draft permit.
Okay.
This week will submit a compliance plan that responds to their comments, which is part of the final permit. And it just has to go through their channels. They're pretty much done with it except for running it through the approval process. And Alan Lilly said that he thought that would take up to several months. Don't forget that this extension of time is something we applied for in 2004, so they don't move quickly.
So the update, which you have just
Yes.
presented.
There's your
that
update.
It is now in the hands of the water guys, and hopefully they will approve the
Yes.
extension of our rights request
Yes.
soon,
Yes.
maybe within the next few months, or they will come back with something to digest.
So the answer to your first question is yes, we will do that. Now is the appropriate time with this.
Okay?
With the permit about to be issued, it's time for us to move on a number of other things that we had said that we would hold off until we were sure that was going to
So
happen.
the update is that we've made some progress, and that the permit is close.
There doesn't
to
seem to be
fruition.
any question,
Okay.
yeah, there doesn't seem to be any question that it will be issued. There are no valid protests. The draft says
Okay.
2026, which is really a big deal for us. So that's great.
Okay.
So once that happens, we can get
So now
pumping.
we're in a hurry again because
Oh, whatever we call it.
2026 will come soon.
2026 is around the corner.
I don't think I'll be here, but
Are you sure?
All right.
Okay, thank you.
We need
I
a
got my
motion.
update.
Glad you're non-committal on that.
All right, Ken. We need a motion, for the contract for balanced hydrologics. Want to do it? Want to do it?
I move.
All right.
That we accept.
I'll second it.
So the motion would be to authorize staff to contract with Balance Hydrologics for water year 2018 stream gauging, groundwater monitoring, and data analysts for Denniston Creek and San Vicente watersheds for an estimated time and materials cost of $89,749.
Exactly what you said.
That's good.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
That's a motion.
Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Director
Yes.
Reynolds? Thank you.
Mary, we have a quarterly financial review.
Okay, so we've just completed our first quarter of our new fiscal year, and I'd say we're in financially good shape. Our year-to-date revenue is $151,000 above plan, primarily due to increased water sales over last year. So we're up about 4% on our residential usage, and we're up with our ag and irrigation usage as well. So it's we'll see how we continue and over the year, but we're trending higher. In terms of our expenses, we are $341,000 ahead, but part of that, we're early in the year, so we have timing issues that we have to think about. We are, the water that we purchased from SFPUC we've had a savings over our budget of $169,000, and what that is using, we're way ahead on our projections with using Denniston. We didn't think we could use Denniston as much as we did when we have the budget, and I think we were 33 million gallons ahead of last year for the quarter, which is fantastic. I will note that we've had some issues with SFPUC reading the meters correctly, and so they haven't billed us. And so, this, when I'm saying these numbers, it is, I'm making estimates for the water based on the meter readings. So this is a true picture of where we're at with the water, not just that SFPUC hasn't billed us yet.
You're accruing it
Right,
as it has been used, but not as we've been billed.
right.
Is that correct?
Correct.
They will rebill us.
Oh, I'm sure they will.
Or add billing to make up for the shortfall, is that correct?
Yeah, and we are in contact with them, and James is in contact, so,
Okay,
with them.
Very good.
Also, our budget, we included a full-time general manager, and we have savings with a part-time position, and also in terms of, we have a couple vacancies. One, we have a customer service specialist position that we're recruiting for. And we had the open water resource analyst position that would be reported to Kathleen that we haven't filled, but we've kept that in the budget. So I will say on our CIP, we've spent, $1.8 million this quarter. We've done a lot of work in working to finishing up our Denniston projects. We had a lot of things, we had Strawflower, we had Highway 92. And the tank recoating project is, still going on. So of that, roughly 600,000 is of our projects are last year's projects, and we're covered from last year's budget. I will say, in terms of our cash position, right now it looks very flush at the end of September, but I have about $2 million worth of bills that we'll be cutting checks for in the next couple of weeks for capital projects. Anyway, you'll see that decline at the end of October.
Okay, thank you. Ken, question?
If you were to look at the capital improvement budget and look at what we've spent and anticipate the end of September, October, whatever you're thinking about, do you think we're on target to spend the capital improvement budget this year?
Yeah, I would say yes.
Because we've never really done it before.
Right.
Do you think we'll actually do it this year? Or what's your feeling? It's just a question.
I think our budget is, I think is pretty realistic, and
Good.
in terms of the projects that are coming up.
At this point in the year, we always say yes. I mean,
Yeah, we always say yes.
our goal is to push that money out there. We'd like to have a Feldman factor greater than 1,
Right.
as opposed to 0.6.
What's a Feldman factor, for goodness?
You know that was that. That's the unspent amount at the end of the year in the capital budget.
That's the
We
ratio,
never.
that's the ratio of actual
That's the
expenditures to
question you
budget.
just asked.
I know, I'm getting old.
But they're
My
getting,
memory's
they're
not that
getting
good.
better. They're spending.
Mary, thank you, much
Yeah.
appreciated.
No,
Bob,
that's-
did you have any questions? Okay. Dave, tell us about our memorandum of understanding.
Okay, we have discussed the MOU with the Teamsters on a number of occasions. There is really nothing new, no new issues, no new terms. The board has seen and discussed the agreement, and we've just been waiting for the union under Sean Donovan's direction here, and under his leadership, I should say, he doesn't direct them, to formally approve this and to have the union representative sign it. That's now happened so that this board can approve the agreement. I've outlined the changes to the previous MOU, and we've discussed those. So if there are any questions, I can answer them. Otherwise, I would recommend that you approve this MOU, which will extend through June 30th, 2022.
Is it appropriate to see if the representative would like to
Yeah.
speak to the agreement?
I would second that. Tell us how the team feels.
I think everybody was pretty happy with how things transpired. It was a little rough the last go-around, so this time there was no hitches. Everybody was
Good.
wanted to go through, and both sides had some requests, and the 5 years and everything, so it was good.
Good, okay, well, thanks.
That's good to hear. We don't get to talk to you guys, so it's nice to hear.
We had, I really have to acknowledge Sean and the way he works with us. We had very minimal attorney involvement, almost none, and we had no involvement, little involvement of the union representative. We really just worked things out between ourselves.
Well done.
here, and it's worked well.
Well, I would say thank you to both of you for
And we have to-
doing that.
We have to credit the board for that as well, I think.
That's just, it's really good to hear, because we don't really get direct contact, so.
Yeah.
you
And
know,
so thank you
We
for
always
coming.
hope it's going well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's our intention, right?
and if it's not, I'll give you his home phone number.
Yeah, it's no problem. He knows where I live.
I do.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. It's kind of disappointing from a legal perspective, though, isn't it? I mean, in terms of billable hours.
No, we're very happy about it.
Oh, good.
All right,
It's good to hear.
Ken, you want to approve this one? Make a
I'd like to-
motion?
Yeah, I'd like to move that we approve the memorandum of understanding between the district and Teamsters Local 856. And if there are 14 other lines, could you laminate on that,
That would
please?
be authorizing the general manager to execute the memorandum of understanding between the district and Teamsters Local 856, covering the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Couldn't have done it better myself. Thank you.
So first, second.
Yeah, he first did it, I seconded it.
Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Dave, we have a potential acquisition of a permanent easement for a water pipeline. I wanted to know why you, yeah, all right, I'll let you go.
Okay, we have on our agenda a closed session discussion regarding an easement potentially to be purchased from the Cosolino Trust. We have discussed with the board the bypass pipeline around La Nebbia Winery, which went through the Cosolino's land, and we did that under a right of entry agreement that has a term of 5 years. At that point, we had not developed the permanent easement, but we anticipated in developing the right of entry agreement with the Cosolinos that we would purchase from them a permanent easement. It's not, the permanent easement is not a done deal. In any case, in order to have the discussion in closed session, the board needs to designate its negotiators for the purposes of the negotiation with the Cosolinos as representing the Cosolino Trust. And we recommend that you designate general manager and assistant general manager as the district's real property negotiators for the potential acquisition of this easement.
So moved.
I'll second it, unless you want to second it. Do you want to
No,
second
it's fine.
it? Okay.
Okay, Director Coverdell?
Aye.
Vice President Feldman?
Yes.
Aye.
President Reynolds, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks.
I assume along with you, there's some associate legal support you guys get during this negotiation, or is it just you and the general manager, the assistant general?
Well, we do it with Hanson Bridget, yes.
Just-
And so, at the end of our agenda, we have a closed session to to
To talk
discuss
about
the
it, yeah.
negotiation.
Yeah, okay, no, you're supported by.
Yes.
I just wanted to confirm.
Good. Mary, tell us about the Assistant General Manager's report.
Okay, well, I wanted to give you a quick update on what's happening with AMI. At the last board meeting, you approved for us to contract with PMI to install the meters and the MTU, the transmitter units. We are moving forward very quickly. We're actually going to start installing meters November 1st. So we've mobilized, we have our meters set up at Alves Tank. We have Connex boxes full of meters and MTUs. And we have, we're working closely with PMI. The big piece of also the rollout is also outreach. And so Kathleen is really doing a wonderful job on developing some outreach materials. She's put together the attachment in here that you can read that we're going to send out to all the district customers. We're also going to be doing, we're making changes to our website. We're going to have some other outreach, other mailers, and we'll likely put something in the review. So so we wanted to make sure that if you get asked, you know what's going on, and because these trucks will be around and there'll be a lot of activity in Half Moon Bay starting in 1st of November.
Very good. All right, any questions? All right. By the way, the rodents have cheerfully covered my ultrasonic meter that I have the 2 parallel meters, and the rodents don't fill the district box, but they've been filling my box sort of on overtime basis.
Maybe we could train them to install meters.
Hey, we trained gophers, be a pet problem. Dave, tell us about our monthly report.
This is, the next item is the Superintendent of Operations report. This is James's first report, so let him go.
Good evening, board members. James Durbin, your new Superintendent of Operations. I've been on the job 2.5 weeks now.
Perfect.
I wanted to thank you for your warm welcoming at the last board meeting, and I also want to thank the staff here for being so wonderful and welcoming as well. So a couple of highlights. The Wavecrest pipeline is now complete. The old tap has been removed and capped. After paving and as-built are submitted, we'll have a notice of completion and be able to close that job out. As you know, the La Nebbia Winery bypass pipeline is complete. El Granada Tank 3 is back in service, retaining walls, paving complete. Really, we just have to do, we have a couple punch list items, which is basically fencing and some gate work, so we're very close on that one as well. Denniston dredging is complete. We did 3 days of dredging last week, it went very well. Denniston will be starting up tomorrow. We had a little problem with the microchlor pump, but we'll get that fixed tomorrow. The district staff poured some concrete walkways around the new pump station, the treated water pump station, that came out great. And the pumping unit number 2, the top bearing was replaced, reinstalled, and it looks like we might have a pump problem. So our vendor is reaching out to Gould's about the pump not making spec. And if you have any questions, I'm here at the pleasure of the board.
Ken?
The first question I had is, I noticed that we've had some kind of input about how long that tank 3 is taking, the cleanup and, demobilizing and all that sort of stuff. How close do you think it is to being really, work stoppage and everything's done? What do you really think is?
As soon as the fencing contractor comes out, we're complete.
But the rest is cleaned up and the place looks nice.
There's some touch-up work that we want to do in-house with some concrete block on the driveway and in the front, but I think that could be some fill-in work that we do in-house over the next few months. It's nice fill-in work when we've got someone available to do that.
Yeah.
So I'd say by next spring we should have it wrapped up, if I'm not speaking out of phase there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should be really respectful of the neighbors. I think they put up with a lot of time and and effort. And,
Yeah.
So anything we can do to make it, less intrusive on their lives, I think is important.
Yeah, we're working with the neighbors on having everything match the
Good.
existing retaining wall with some stackable block, and I think it's going to look real good afterwards.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Kathleen?
Mine's just an informational report. We submitted to the Department of Water Resources a validated water audit. So the key was the validation, and we worked with the Cal Nevada section of AWWA to get that validation. Not sure what we're going to do next year. Might have to hire a consultant if the TAP program's not available to us. But it was a very good, successful process working with the local section, the state section, I should say. And haven't heard back from, other than getting confirmation that they received our submittal, haven't received any feedback yet from the state on it. But I'm hoping everything goes smoothly and that we get some feedback review or something.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. We're done with the regular meeting. Now we'll be reporting back the results of our closed board meeting. Isn't that correct?
But I think we can break or let.
Yeah, no, so
Go,
we'll,
we can take a 5 or 10 minute break.
do we close the general meeting?
We just convene in the closed session.
Convene it,
Well,
not
we-
adjourn it.
We can just recess, convene it, this works, we could recess, convene into closed session, and we'll come back out of closed session.
I think we just need to read the agenda language,
Sure.
so
Oh,
I can
okay.
do that, or if somebody else wants to.
No, go ahead. It's your
All
turn
right.
to speak.
Okay, so after the break, we will convene into closed session for a conference with real property negotiators pursuant to California Government Code Section 54956.8. The properties in question are 12001 through 12291 San Mateo Road, Half Moon Bay, California. The APNs are 056-331-110. Second APN is 056-331-054. And then the next one is 056-331-120, 056-331-130, and then the final one is 056-450-040. The agency negotiators are the general manager and I believe it was the assistant general manager who had been designated earlier today. And the negotiating parties are James Cozzolino, who's the trustee, and under negotiation in the closed session will be the price and terms of payment for these properties.
Excellent.
So we'll break for
Yep, so
long enough to.
break for recess and then go into the closed session.
Okay.
Thank you all.